Chairman.
Lauren Cruz, and this is Vicki Moscatelli. Together, we are co-presidents of the Rockville Center Council of PTAs. We'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight to learn more about the candidates for this year's Board of Education election. Before we begin, we'd like to give special thanks to Mary Lou Celebrity for her help organizing details for tonight's event, and to Dr. Walsh for allowing us to use the auditorium. Special thank you to the student volunteers from the Southside High School Student Government who helped distribute and collect question cards and will be delivering them to our vetter this evening. We appreciate your help so much, so thank you. Also, thank you to the custodial staff here at the high school, the security team, and to Rob Lichter and Mark Palmenteri for setting up the live stream and video recording of tonight's forum. That video will be posted either tomorrow or later this week. Please note, and this is an important note, that this video may only be shared unedited and in its entirety.
This year, we have two candidates, Donna Downing and David Putterman, running for one open seat on the Rockville Center Board of Education. We'd like to thank both of you for running, for your commitment to RVC schools, and for being here this evening. The election and budget vote will take place on Tuesday, May 20th from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. here at Southside High School. Qualified registered voters may also apply to vote via absentee ballot, and those instructions can be found on the district website at rvcschools.org. If you are unsure whether you are registered to vote, you can also check your voting status on rvcschools.org. If you need to register to vote, you must contact the district clerk during school business hours and register in person by May 15th. It is now our pleasure to introduce you to our moderator, timekeeper, and vetter for this evening from the League of Women Voters. Ren Bethany is our moderator for this evening, while Ann Leiter and Patricia Fulton will be sharing the roles of timekeeper and vetter. All three are members of the Central Nassau chapter of the League of Women's Voters, and none are eligible to vote in Rockville Center. Ren, Ann, and Patricia, thank you so much for being here. Now we'll hand it over to you, Ren, to kick things off. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I would like to just say, if I or either of the two candidates get too far back from the mic, if somebody out there could just do this to remind us to keep ourselves close enough to the mic. And this is loud enough, right? You can hear me? Okay, because that's really important. It'd be a shame if you were just sitting there watching our lips move. So I do request audience feedback for that purpose. Excuse me while I take off my jacket. Oops, just a moment. Again, my name is Ren Bethany. I'm a member of the League of Women Voters of Central Nassau. And I will be your moderator for this evening. We are not, neither I nor the veteran nor the timekeeper are from this district. So the New York State League and the National League of Women Voters are all nonpartisan. We do not support or oppose any political party or candidate. Our mission is to engage you, the voters, by giving all the candidates for a given office a public space to answer questions in a structured way while maintaining civil discourse. We describe our most important priority as making democracy work, which includes all our voter services work. Letting candidates speak directly to voters on issues that matter through forums like this, and through a variety of publications, and by registering voters. This includes educating voters and advocating with legislators on issues involving voting and elections, but also on redistricting, natural resources, and healthcare. We only take positions on issues after studying them extensively. We hope you will consider joining the League, which you can do on the website, LWV of PWM, well, that's Port Washington. We are the Central Nassau LWV. And remember, the League of Women Voters is not for women only. I'm going to lay out the expectations for you. Okay. The candidates' opening statements will be determined before the in-person events. In this case, I'm just going to start with the audience left and audience right, and we'll alternate. Each candidate will be allowed 2 minutes, in this case, for an opening statement. And after they've spoken, then I open the meeting with questions. The questions are being submitted beforehand, as you have seen on these cards, and they have gone to the vetters. The vetters aren't saying, oh, we don't like this question, or we don't like that one. The vetters are saying, well, these 2 questions are about the same thing. Well, here are 4 questions on the same topic. They'll combine them into just one question so that the evening is efficiently handled. In all cases, the moderator will be the final arbiter of whether the questions should be answered. Questions must not be duplicative, personal, or abusive. Each candidate will be given 90 seconds to answer each question. At the moderator's discretion, the time for a response may be reduced so long as it is the same for everyone. That's something that I haven't seen happen so far. There will be no rebuttal. Questions may be addressed to a specific candidate or to candidates in general, although all candidates will be given an opportunity to answer any question, even if addressed to a specific individual. I'll be rotating the number of responders. In this case, it's kind of easy, since there are just 2. And Patricia down here is acting as the timekeeper. 1/2 minute, aka 30 seconds, from the end of any given time period, she will alert whoever is speaking by holding up her orange sign that says 30, meaning 30 seconds. The candidates who ignore the time signals may have their speaking time reduced, or those not violating the rules may be given extra time. Then the candidates will have 2 minutes for a closing statement. Since the purpose of the meeting is to determine the candidate's views, no substitute for the physical presence of the candidate at in-person events will be allowed should a candidate be unable to attend. No written or recorded statement may be provided in lieu of active participation by a candidate. Forums require 2 or more candidates for each seat to be present. The use of props, charts, or visuals, and the display of campaign collateral or apparel is prohibited. In accordance with League policy, the League owns the content of its forums. Audio or video recording by authorized members of the media will be permitted only if agreed to by all the candidates present. The League maintains the right to record the forum and publish it on LWV-controlled electronic pages. No other recording will be allowed. No partial transcript or recording may be published without written permission from the League. So I'm going to ask, let me find my little rotation sheet that I set up for myself. Okay. So Mr. Putterman is going to have his 2 minutes, and then Ms. Downing will give hers.
Testing. Oh, we're good. All right. Hello, fellow residents and taxpayers. My name is David Putterman. After getting to know me tonight and learning about my skills, my expertise, my level-headed, logical way of thinking, and my why, I hope that you will be confident that I am the right person for this volunteer position. What I will bring to the table is a skill set and knowledge base that this board simply does not have. There are currently 5 educators in our 5 spots, and what we lack is someone to help manage our finances, someone with business experience. We can't do anything if we don't have the money to do it. I am also trained to ask constructive questions about why we do what we do, but from a non-educator standpoint. Are we stuck in the past, or are we going to move forward in this quickly changing world? The biggest win that I will deliver is reducing the cost of our employee benefits insurance. I met with Mr. Gavin yesterday, and he recently said in a PTA meeting as well that this is a top 2 budget concern. It costs $33 million for these benefits and insurance. That's 1/4 of the entire budget. That's a humongous slice. I literally do this for a living. I do it for large brand name companies, and my company has a ton of towns and BOEs as clients. It's a match made in heaven. This money can be saved and used to lower taxes or reinvested in our students. Finally, I also have 2 wonderful children in our schools, and they will be for another decade. So I have a vested interest in the education and future preparedness of the children in our district. I also care tremendously about their health as well as the teachers, as you're likely to find out in our forum. I'm excited for you to get to know me and how I will positively impact our school district.
Thank you very much, Mr. Putterman. And now Ms. Downing.
Thank you. Thank you to our students for volunteering to help out tonight. Thank you to Rob and Mark, our AV staff, our district clerk, PTA council, Lauren and Vicki, our security team, our custodial support. Thank you, Ren, Ann, and Patricia for helping us out tonight. 3 years ago, I asked you to vote for change. Since I was elected, we have a fantastic new district administration, a visible and energetic new superintendent, new experts in curriculum, business, and special ed, 4 new school principals. We've expanded universal pre-K. Everybody who wants a spot can get a spot at one of our 2 locations, and we brought it right into our own backyard at the rec center. We have intentionally brought our 5 elementary schools into alignment so that parents can be sure that their children are getting a great education no matter where you live in town. We've added more supports for students and expanded integrated co-teaching across the district. Since I was elected, we've added over 20 new elective courses at the middle school and the high school, including new AP courses and 6 new options for college credit in high school. We listened to students. We added new sports teams and clubs. We built a new field at the middle school. We're continuously working on improving our communications. We've added parent-teacher conferences at the middle school and the high school. Those are new. Our board is more effective than ever. We focus on student achievement. We take care of the important business of our school district. We do not always agree, but we get things done. I have brought positive change. My dedication to this district shows in my record of service, from St. Mark's Nursery School to the PTAs, from Wilson to the middle school to the high school. I have volunteered at every level. Parents and families are rightfully concerned about state and federal funding. Will our government support our kids' education, or will they put more burden on us, the taxpayers? These are complex problems. Now, more than ever, we need to put up the good fight. I'm the most qualified candidate to serve this community. I'll keep fighting for our children and our schools.
Thank you very much. Quite a number of questions have been submitted, and so I am going to, just a moment, because one looked like it might be, no, it's not really. Okay. I'm going to address this question first to Mr. Putterman, and then Ms. Downing will have also her 90 seconds to address it. What are the greatest needs of the district, and how do you plan to address them?
The greatest need in the district is going to differ based on who you ask. Everyone has different needs. Everyone wants different things, right? Some parents are going to be super concerned about sports, others about education, others about, what clubs their kids are at, others about things we don't even think of. We can't make any significant changes if we don't have the funds to do it. And my opponent just stated, very intelligently, that state funding and federal funding is a big problem, or it can be a big problem. We need to have a flexible budget where we have money in store, because there's a lot of different improvements that need to be done in the schools that we're going to have to spend money on. So as far as what's the most important, it's really everything. And as a board member, I want to be working with everyone here, everyone watching online, to figure out what do we need the most. There's going to be 4 other board members that I'm working with, as well as our superintendent, who's made a lot of change in the 3 years since he's been here. So what's the most important? I want you to tell me, and with all the funds that I'm going to end up saving through our health insurance work, we will make the change that you want to make.
Thank you. We're sorting questions over here, so.
I'll take that question then.
Certainly.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So the greatest
go
need?
right ahead. I beg your pardon.
The greatest need in our district right now is stability. We have had tremendous turnover at the administration level, and we need to make a strategic plan that will bring our district into the future so that our students can continue to achieve. Our board has set goals. Since I was elected for the first time, the board sets actionable goals and clearly communicates the steps that we are taking to achieve those goals. We need focus, we need stability, we need money, we need state funding, and we need federal funding. We need continuity. We need fiscal responsibility from your board. We need a board that gets things done, that is not distracted by agendas or politics. We need a strategic plan, and we need stability. We need extra space. We need upgrades to our 100-year-old buildings. We need a list of needs and wants. We need to establish a capital improvement plan, and we need to drive student achievement and keep teaching and learning at the forefront.
Thank you very much. A number of people are seeming concerned about funding, ever the question. But I'm going to start out now with a question explaining, for you to explain, what is the tax levy And why do my taxes go up more than 2% if there is a tax cap? Mr. Putterman, why don't you tackle that? Well, shall I repeat it?
I thought we were supposed to alternate who answers the question first.
Then, Ms. Downing, if
Sure.
you're ready, go right ahead.
I'm ready. So it's a complicated question. The tax levy, let's back up a little bit. The school budget is the funds that the board and the administration have determined are necessary for the operation of the school district for the upcoming school year. Year to year, we take a look. We start at a zero-based budgeting. From last year to this year, we're looking at a 1.6% increase in costs that is below the rate of inflation. It is below the tax cap. It comes in at about 2.60%. Our tax cap is 2.62. This tax levy is different than my personal taxes on my home. We establish what we need to operate. Nassau County sets our assessment. Many of us know the assessment system in Nassau County is not exactly the most functional. We determine the pie here at Rockville Center in our school district. This is the money we need. Nassau County assessment determines your piece of the pie, and that's different than your piece of the pie and your piece of the pie. And if you have not grieved your own taxes, I strongly suggest you do, because if you are not grieving your taxes, you're making up for what your neighbor is not paying. That is the tax levy.
Would you like to address why it might seem, the taxes might seem to rise above 2% when there's a tax cap? Just, can you tackle that one?
So property taxes are set by Nassau County, right? Your assessment level. 2.62 is the maximum amount that the school district can raise of the general levy. That we are coming in at 2.60, which funds the operating budget for the school district.
So you're not breaking the tax cap?
We are not. This budget comes
At
in
this time.
under the tax cap. It actually comes in around the lower end of Nassau County school districts, but our specific tax cap is 2.62%. Our budget comes in at a 2.60 levy percent.
Okay. Mr. Putterman, would you care to tackle that? Do you want me to reread the question? Because often it helps. Yeah.
Yes.
What is the tax levy, and why do my taxes go up more than the 2% if there is a tax cap?
So I'm a huge math nerd. I do all the numbers for a living. This actually isn't something I've concerned myself with figuring out exactly what the tax levy is and how it's impacted. What I can speak to you about is what I'll do about it, right? If you're a public company and you're looking at a balance sheet, you want the lowest possible increase, if you have an increase, right, from year to year. So that's exactly what I'm going to be looking at. The math will work itself out, but we need to figure out ways to lower the amount of money that we're spending or spend our money as efficiently as possible. So if you want me to, I can go back and do the homework and do the math. It's probably not going to be that hard and figure out exactly how the math works. But the bottom line is we have to be efficient with all of the tax dollars that we collect from everybody. And not everyone has children in the district anymore, right? So I know that taxes are very important to everybody, especially in this climate. That's one of the main reasons I'm sitting here, because I know that I can favorably impact it.
Thank you. We were discussing the timing because these vary a little bit. Sometimes they end on the dot of 90 minutes from start. Others, so Anne is going to check the structure of this particular forum. So that's what we were murmuring about. But the next question is one that grabs everybody's attention, whether you've got schools or not, school kids or not. What is your plan should the federal government cut funding to New York State? Mr. Putterman, you start this time.
Yes. So if the federal government cuts funding to our state, well, first we need to talk to our lawyers and figure out if there's any loopholes or any ways around it, right? You know, we need to be doing things above board and within the law. Otherwise, we may be forced to make difficult decisions. Money doesn't grow on trees, and we all know this. So we need to figure out how to purchase what we purchase more efficiently and more effectively in the case that the government, you know, cuts state funding, or the state ends up cutting funding, or the state ends up redirecting money away from our district, right, to other districts, you know, maybe New York City, you know, Brooklyn, the five boroughs. So we're gonna need to figure that out. And if you have a margin within your budget, that sets you up for success rather than being caught flat-footed by a mandate from the government or state funding that may or may not be here.
Thank you. Ms. Downing, what is your plan should the federal government cut funding to New York State?
So the federal government directly sends our district about $1 million in the upcoming budget, and that generally covers grants for students with disabilities as part of that federal law. The state, however, New York State, owes us about $20 million. So if the New York State does not fulfill its obligation to our local school district or any other local school district within New York State, that would be significantly difficult across the board and across the state. New York State supplies New York school districts with foundation aid, with building aid, with expense-driven aids. They often send down mandates that do not have funds accompanying them, but we rely on New York State to fund schools appropriately and to make sure that our children are getting the resources that they need. If there is a change in any way that this funding is allocated, the state may choose block grants instead of direct funding to districts. I worry that block grants are going to disadvantage suburbs like ours and would advantage larger cities, New York City, Rochester, Buffalo, Albany. I would be very careful to make sure that our children are getting what they are entitled to from the state.
Thank you. So what are your ideas for reviewing the budget for cost and efficiency savings? So Ms. Downing, why don't you start? Your ideas for reviewing the budget for cost and efficiency savings.
So our budget this year is a 1.6% increase. It is below the rate of inflation. We start every year the budget process really soon after the school year starts. The 5 board members fan out among the buildings in our district, and we start with a survey of needs. As I mentioned, some of our buildings are 100 years old. We have to maintain safe and secure learning environments for our students. We look at the programs that are successful. We want to maintain successful programs that drive student achievement. We want a budget that leaves a little bit of room for innovation, for experimentation, for driving new initiatives and trying them out, seeing how students respond. I worry that mandates that come down, especially for zero-emission buses, for example, that's going to drive up costs. We are advocating as board members. I have personally advocated to our legislators to relieve us of expenses that we cannot maintain. A budget outlines our priorities, instruction matters to our students, and we have to make sure that we are getting the funding that we are entitled to.
Thank you. Mr. Putterman, what are your ideas for reviewing the budget for cost and efficiency savings?
It's my main goal already, and I've said it in my opening, right? Health insurance costs are huge. I do this for a living. I see the increases that are coming down the road for companies. That is 1/4 of the entire budget, and I know that that is something that I can very favorably impact without taking away benefits for the teachers. We don't want to do that. I'd actually like to enhance them for the teachers. My opponent, I'm glad she brought up about transportation. That's really difficult. And that was the number 2 budget concern from Superintendent Gavin. Those two are huge, huge, huge numbers. And we have to work creatively to figure out, work creatively with transportation about how we can lower those costs. Right? The last thing we're going to want to look at is cutting anything from our teachers, for our students, from our sports. So let's look at the biggest budget numbers, right? And let's the biggest budget numbers, and they also happen to be non-education expenses. So let's focus on those and see how much we can get those down. That's the plan.
Thank you. Now, starting with Mr. Putterman, based on publicly available data, how effectively do you believe our district is preparing our middle school students for high school math?
Oh, that's a great question. Publicly available data, I'm the first one to say I off the top of my head, I don't know the math numbers. However, the one thing that I certainly can comment on is what's happening as far as pushing children into advanced courses. I know that the standard right now is pushing 7th graders into 9th grade math and science classes. Now, we just found out about this and didn't even realize, because it wasn't well communicated or transparent, that this was happening. So I want to just make sure, I can look up the numbers. I'm not going to lie about something I don't know, but I do know that we need to be very transparent about the classes that are available, the classes that our children are going to go into, because there's no one-size-fits-all solution. Not everyone should be pushed into advanced classes. And I think all parents should have the discussion with the children's teachers. How are they doing? Do you think they're ready? Do you think this would be good for them? Rather than just placing them into classes without any family's consent. So that's a big issue that's recently come up for us, because my daughter is in 7th grade right now. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll take that one.
Yes, so they're asking how effectively, and based on publicly available data, how effectively do you believe our district is preparing our middle school students for high school math?
So just to clarify something that was just said, no student is forced into taking any class without parent consent. And I would strongly encourage all parents to have regular and open dialogue with their children's teachers and with their guidance counselors at every level. We have instituted guidance counselors K-12. There are plenty of resources to make sure that you are making the correct decisions for your children. 8th grade math is an option for students. 8th grade algebra is a more popular option for students. The math sequence that the instructional team and the curriculum experts have designed benefits our students. Our students' algebra scores and the math that students are able to achieve in high school is phenomenal. I would put our record in math up against any other school, any other district in this country. Our math teachers are phenomenal. Our students are achieving, they are doing well, they are getting to calculus and numbers that no other district sees. Colleges are reinstating SAT requirements for admission. We know there is a correlation between getting through Algebra 2 and trigonometry to do better on the math section of the SAT. Students have choices, it's important to have options, and I strongly recommend talking to your guidance counselor.
Thank you. Okay. What What steps do you think the district can take to ensure, I'm sorry, this will be Ms. Downing starting. What steps do you think the district can take to ensure that all students feel supported and protected from bullying, bigotry, anti-Semitism, etc., both in person and online? And how can you involve students, parents, and staff in creating a welcoming school environment?
I think this is the question on everyone's mind, is to make sure that all of our students feel safe, they feel supported, they belong, they have a trusted adult in the building at all times. We know from our climate survey, students tell us that they have people to go to when there is an issue. In terms of anti-Semitism, bigotry, bullying, this starts with education. This is our core mission, is to educate, to open minds, to learn about different perspectives. Our students have opportunities for community partnerships. We engage with the Anti-Defamation League. We engage with arts and motion assemblies. Marian Lazan, a Holocaust survivor. Our students are driving a lot of these efforts. We've seen at the high school level, some of our DECA students take on this issue of bullying and safety and belonging. Our schools need to be welcoming to all of our students.
Thank you. So again, now, Mr. Putterman, what steps do you think that the district can take to ensure that all students feel supported and protected from bullying, bigotry, anti-Semitism, etc., both in person and online? And how can you involve students, parents, and staff in creating a welcoming school environment?
So all students absolutely need someone within school that they can talk to, right? They spend more time there than they spend at home. However, I firmly believe that this starts at home. We need to be talking to all of our parents, all of our families, and just telling them to raise their children to just be good, nice people. Children are fundamentally nice. If we have a great, welcoming, nice community, it's easy. It's nice to be nice. Smile at your neighbor. Open doors for people. Literally show your children on a day-to-day basis what it is to be a good human being. And at that point, we won't have to be worrying about this happening in school. Set the example for your children and just be good people. That's what everybody wants in this community.
Thank you. Mr. Putterman, in the digital age, what are your views on the effects and implications of artificial intelligence, social media, screen time, etc., on our children and schools?
There's a huge effect, and there's a lot of, I could probably spend 90 seconds at least on all four of the things that we're asked about. AI, supremely helpful. The children need to learn how to use it. Superintendent Gavin told me yesterday that we have a new AI prompting class in the high school, and I was thrilled to hear it, because we need to be looking forward into the future that our kids are going to be growing up in and the skills that they're going to need to survive. As far as social media, I completely agree with we got to wait till at least 8th. I think social media, it can be very, very bad for children. Their brains aren't fully developed. They shouldn't be comparing themselves to other people, fundamentally concerned with everything that's happening there. Our children also need to learn how to use technology safely, and that's something I have a personal passion in, regarding the radiation that comes out of cell phones, the brightness that comes out of cell phones, how it impacts health, how it impacts sleep. It's one of my personal passions, and anybody that knows me right now is probably laughing like, yep, that's Putterman. He knows all of this stuff. So that's actually something I would really like to bring into schools and teach children the right ways to use technology so that it's not going to harm them down the road health-wise. It really saddens me when I hear that kids sleep with their phones under their pillows and they're not in airplane mode.
Thank you. So Ms. Downing, again, in the digital age, what are your views on the effects and implications of artificial intelligence, social media, screen time, etc., on our children and schools?
I think our district is in a very good position. We have actually been on the cutting edge in a lot of this new technology. Our superintendent is an expert. He has presented at several conferences and been a guest on podcasts on the particular nuances of artificial intelligence. Our staff has received early training so that they feel confident and comfortable in how they approach using these tools in education, but these are supplements. These cannot supplant, these cannot replace critical thinking and the value students get from reading and writing and making authentic assessments. We need to thread through from elementary to middle and high school, and we are responsible use of these tools that encourages children to think carefully about what is real and what is not, what is exaggerated on social media, what is doctored, how these dopamine loops in some way addict children to social media, and we need them to be very critical and skeptical users of technology. We need them to be prepared, to be responsible users, but to make sure that it is very clear to them that media literacy and understanding these tools is the key to using them safely and responsibly.
Thank you. So, Ms. Downing, how can this district ensure children are safe at school from gun violence and other physical safety risks?
This I hear a lot on conversations that I'm having with parents and students. Safety is absolutely the basis for which all of our work takes place. It is a priority in our budget. We are replacing classroom doors. We make sure every class, every school, the building is locked. There are safety procedures. We have increased our security staff. We make sure that if there is an absence, there is a floater to make sure that the buildings are covered. We have a new swipe ID system here at the high school, so we know who exactly is in the building and if a student is in the place where they are supposed to be. We are continually seeking out threat assessment training. We are sending our staff to make sure that the best practices, as they evolve, are what is happening in our schools. Parents do ask me, is my child safe in our schools? And I really believe, yes, they are safe here. We are on this issue. It is the forefront of every plan and everything we do. Our very last Board of Ed meeting featured discussion about the safety plan. We need to keep kids safe so that they can learn.
Thank you. So, Mr. Putterman,
You
once
don't have
again.
to repeat it.
Huh?
You don't have to repeat the question. I'm good.
Okay.
Thanks. I know that school safety probably is our #1 priority as parents. You know, we can say we care about curriculum, we care about sports, we care about our children being safe more than anything else in the world. So having all the doors with locks, right? Having locked doors has prevented more, school tragedies, around the country as they've happened. So having locked doors and having teachers that know all the procedures and know exactly what to do in the event that something happens, utmost importance. I say this without any knowledge, literally. We need to just make sure, and maybe we do, I'm praying we do, we need to have highly qualified security guards. Maybe they were, special service. Maybe they're a parent in the community that used to be a police officer that's now retired, right? We need top-notch security at our schools. It's not something I've looked into. I'm praying we have it. I will look into it if need be. And I would also be tapping into all my friends that are ex-Marines, ex-police officers, and ask them, what would you do if you had to secure a school? And those are the types of ideas that we may need to bring to a school to make them the most secure for our children.
Thank you. So, Mr. Putterman, what is your opinion of vocational education? And does the district offer enough?
Like I said before, I'm not going to lie about something I don't know about. I'm not an expert on the amount of vocational education that our school provides. However, I do certainly think it's very important, and children need multiple pathways in order to be successful. And vocational education is going to be very important because there are some things that cannot be replaced by robotics and computers and that type of stuff. So yes, it's very important. I'm not going to lie and say that I know exactly about that. It's not one of my areas of expertise, but we do have 4 other board members and a superintendent who are very highly educated, who I will ask all the right questions to, see if we need more, see if it's overfunded, see if we need less, see how we can improve it. That's one thing that I just know how to do, is just ask lots and lots and lots of questions, and they're probably going to be questions that haven't been asked before, because I sit in and live in a totally different arena than everybody on the board today.
Ms. Downing, want to hit that one? What is your opinion of vocational education, and does the district offer enough?
So we have longstanding relationships with BOCES. That is one of our really strong community partnerships. We have students who want to do aesthetics training or automotive repair or hospitality and restaurant services. It's better and cheaper if we can coordinate that through a BOCES centralized location. Our students spend a few hours out of the school day to do that, and they come back for the rest of their classes. Having said that, no, that is not enough, which is why, since I've been elected, we have added far more options for students. A 4-year career path is not necessarily for everyone, and we serve all students. We value everyone's paths. We help students identify what's of interest to them and what they might like to continue to do. At Malloy, where I teach, I have encouraged students to look for an associate's degree, for a certificate. There are programs like nuclear medical technology, where you can be trained for a specific reason and a job right out of that career, right out of that certificate. AP cybersecurity is a very proud thing for our district to be picked to be a pilot district. At the end of a student's experience in this new AP cybersecurity class right here at Southside High School, they will have an industry professional license so that they can continue to fund any future education or work in the cybersecurity field. But yes, certainly we need more of these, but we have been focused on it, and I believe we can do more of them in my second term.
Thank you. In recent years, the Rockville Center District has celebrated Inclusive Schools Week. What does the word inclusive mean to you? How inclusive do you feel our district is? And would you recommend any changes?
I think this is a real point of pride for our district to have been on the forefront of inclusivity. And we have conversations among board members from many districts. We talk to parents, and we hear sometimes parents say, well, I hear that district has a lot of inclusive or has a lot of special ed programs. We really have been a place that makes sure our students are part of everything they can possibly be a part of. We want students to be included, to have options, to have support where appropriate. We have a fabulous new assistant superintendent who's tremendously invested. She is building trust. These options for students cannot be limited. A student with disabilities should have every option open, should have all of the supports necessary, And this is a collaboration. Parents, students, families, teachers, service providers, speech, OT, PT, all of us working together to serve the students who come to our buildings, who deserve the very best education, and we can always listen and improve our programs so that everyone does feel included and that they are reaching their fullest potential.
Thank you. So, Mr. Putterman, what does the word inclusive mean to you? How inclusive do you feel our district is, and would you recommend any changes?
So to me, inclusive means included. Everyone should feel that they're being represented in what's being promoted and celebrated at our schools. And are we not doing enough? I think that's a question for the children to tell us, right? Are our kids coming home and saying, oh, you know, we've been doing this all of last week, and the week before that we did something else, but when are they going to do X, Y, Z that represents me and that I'm interested in? Those are the things that we need to hear from the students and the parents. I do love all of the different days that we have at school. However, I think sometimes everything can kind of get lost in the shuffle, right? It's not as, for anyone in elementary school, you know what I'm talking about, almost every day is a dress up in a different way for a different thing day. And I think that I love that. However, if it's almost every single day, no one really knows what's happening. So I think if we really want to, you know, promote anything even more and have a bigger focus on it, let's just have one big day that every student knows exactly what we're doing. And we want to have that in every single different area to make sure that all the students feel included.
Thank you. So, Mr. Putterman, can you talk about International Baccalaureate and Advanced Placement and how they prepare students for success in higher education? Do you personally favor one over the other? Why?
One over the other for what? What's the comparison?
This is how the question's worded. International Baccalaureate and Advanced Placement.
AP, okay. Thank
IB,
you.
yeah.
Yes.
IB and AP.
Yeah. All right, so this has been one of my biggest research projects in the past couple weeks. I'm learning a lot about the IB program. One thing I have learned is it is very costly. However, maybe that's not a big deal if we're getting if the students are getting good return for what we're spending on that program. The other, right, very costly. Con. Pro. From what I understand, and I was speaking to students before this forum because I asked them, what do you guys think of IB? Does it make you think more? And they said, yes, it does. There's a lot more essays that we have to write, and I think teaching children how to think and not how to regurgitate is critical in life. Anyone can regurgitate anything. We all have our phones in our pockets. We can look anything up, but learning how to think is very important. Some schools recognize it, others don't. I think we need to hear from students, right? Because I can say everything I want. I want to hear from the students that have left the school last year and are leaving this year, going to college. What do you think about the IB program? Is it being recognized by colleges? Did it get you where you want to go, or did it not? One of the negatives I've heard about it is that you don't even get your scores until July, so you don't actually know if you've passed until July. So that's a little bit of a problem. There's a lot of pros and cons. I really look forward to discussing this with the board and Mr. Gavin, because it's not a simple answer.
Thank you. So, Ms. Downing, IB and AP, how do they, can you talk about how they prepare students for success in higher ed and whether you favor one program, I guess, over the other?
I think this is, again, one of the ways that our district stands out. We don't need to choose. We have AP and we have IB, and students can pick the path that is right for them. I have had 4 of my own children go through this high school with very different interests and picked very different paths. 2 of my own children were interested in computer science as a potential major in college. At the time, there were no computer science classes, and we felt they were at a bit of a disadvantage against other students in high schools with these classes. I advocated and have successfully brought AP Computer Science Principles, AP Computer Science A, the AP Cybersecurity pilot that I mentioned earlier. Our students have options. It is not guaranteed to transfer exactly as college credit on every college campus. These college campuses, I've worked at 2, Malloy and St. John's, they revise their requirements all the time. That may not be guaranteed, but what is guaranteed, and what I think the IB offers, starting in 11th grade and going through 12th, you get your 11th grade scores in 11th grade, it offers preparation, critical thinking, as our students mentioned, writing. They are not as overwhelmed with college-level work because they've done it.
Thank you. What can be done to improve the mental health of students? I'm particularly worried about the middle school. Ms. Downing.
This is where we need to really focus on our trained staff, our counselors, our guidance counselors, our school psychologists, our social workers. Our students tell us they want and need embedded supports around their academics. They have more stress. They are busier than ever in the after-school hours. We want to embed and support students' social emotional learning. Teaching students early and continually reminding them that it is not a weakness to ask for help. That is a strength. That is so important for us as adults to model. They need to develop healthy relationships with technology. Our board and our administration have been offering, just last week, the digital dilemma, bringing in a therapist to talk to parents about parenting mindfully, how an appropriate curriculum that hits the sweet spot of a challenge for a student and something they can feel proud of without being overwhelmed. Schools have a big role to play in supporting student mental health. Clubs, sports, teams, the music, concerts, productions. Students come to school for a variety of different reasons, and they need to feel valued, they need to feel supported and welcomed.
Thank you. So, Mr. Putterman, what can be done to improve the mental health of students? I'm particularly worried about the middle school.
Yeah, so there's definitely nuance to this question, right? Because mental health, it can be impacted by a number of different things. It could be social, right? It could be schoolwork, educational. For some students, you know, it could even be financial, worrying about families' status and how they're doing. So social, emotional, financial, schoolwork. We have to make sure that we have the right personnel in place to help our students with all of these things in the school, and we have to let them know that it's okay to reach out. You know, promote a culture of not openness, but not being afraid to ask for help. We never want anyone to suffer in silence, and mental health is very difficult. I really loved the digital dilemma last week. I stayed for both sessions, and I was smiling ear to ear when she was talking about we need to teach our kids to be resilient. We have to let them struggle. We have to let them get through failures, because that's how they grow and get the emotional strength to work through the next big obstacle that's coming their way. So they need to feel supported. We need to have a good environment, and it's of the utmost importance to make sure that, especially the middle schoolers, because they're in a tough spot in life, have that support that they need.
Thank you, Mr. Putterman. Mr. Putterman, in an era where subsidies for the arts are rapidly vanishing, how committed are you to continue to prioritize budgetary assets towards art, theater, music, and production?
One word, very. It's very important. I took acting classes in college, and they were some of my absolute favorite classes. It got me out of my actuarial math major. So I was going from total nerd classes to the arts, and I absolutely loved it. Like I said in my opening, we need to find more money in the budget in order to support everything and anything. And I think that the arts are unbelievably important. I'm just thinking about my son, who's probably sitting home drawing right now. The arts are very, very, very important. I don't think they should be overshadowed by sports. We need to have the needs and wants of all of our children and the students here met. And the more we hear from them, they'll let us know exactly what types of classes, what types of clubs, what types of trips, what types of equipment they want access to. And if we have the money, we will 100% be able to support all of their hopes and dreams in these areas.
Thank you. Ms. Downing, subsidies for the arts are vanishing. How committed are you to prioritizing them?
I am extremely committed. I am 100% committed to continuing this district's incredibly strong relationship to the arts. Our students go on to do amazing things. The production value on this very stage of the musicals, of the plays at the middle school, starting at the elementary school with the talent shows and the reviews and the second grade plays. This is, again, a really special district that consistently wins awards for performance. We have tremendous untapped potential in this town. We are so close to New York City. I know we have parents in our community, in our district, parents, community members who work in the theater, who work on Broadway, whether it's cast, crew. There is tremendous community partnerships available. We have looked into grants to try to get some funding to continue to renovate our facilities, to make sure our students have access to the best production and the best resources, because we have a wonderful new arts director too. We miss her in the classrooms, but we really appreciate her leadership, her forward thinking, her vision for the arts, and that is something that will continue to be a priority in my second term.
Thank you. Ms. Downing, by the way, it's 8:05, and just so you know, this ends on the dot of 8:30, so I will stop a little before 8:25 to allow for the 2-minute closing statements. But here's another question. So if we don't get to your question, I'm sorry, because we are trying. So, Ms. Downing, what are your thoughts on how the district currently allocates special ed resources? And where do you see, what do you see as areas for improvement? So how is the district now allocating special ed resources? Where do you see areas for improvement?
One of the things that we're really proud of that we have expanded over the past few years during my first term are the integrated co-teaching classes. We started in the elementary schools. We have expanded that to the middle school and the high school. Students need to be in inclusive classrooms. They need to have resources for extra help. We do have extra help, often before school and after school. These are sometimes underutilized, so I would recommend continued conversations. Ensuring that our students with disabilities are supported is an absolute necessity. It is a point of pride in our district. We have served as a model for how to do inclusion well, and we're going to continue to support it in our budget. I worry about the federal funding. As I mentioned earlier, that is almost exclusively federal money that comes from the federal government to our district for students with disabilities. If that funding were to go away in any sort of change at the Department of Education, I want parents and students to know that our district's commitment to students with disabilities will never waver. It will always be here. We will find a way, and we will find the money to serve the students of this community with fidelity.
Thank you. Mr. Putterman, your thoughts on how the district currently allocates special ed resources, and what do you see as areas for improvement?
While this is something that I agree is unbelievably important, another one of my areas, not an area of expertise, but that doesn't mean that I don't tremendously care about it. If there are areas for improvement, this is something I will find out from the existing board members and our superintendent, as well as all of the parents. Are all the children's needs being met? Yes or no? What can we do better? What shouldn't we be doing? What should we be doing? And I have a lot of friends actually who work in other school districts, who work in the city, that this is their area of expertise. So I'm not the expert, so I go to the experts, and I'll be talking to them and see what they think about those matters. I'm not going to pretend I'm an expert in something I'm not. Federal funding, yes, very important, which is all the bigger reason to make sure that we are taking care of our balance sheet. We need to be mindful of our budget. We need to save big money where we can, like I said, in employee benefits. That money will go to serve us however we need it to.
Thank you. Mr. Putterman, what does it mean for a school district to be successful? What metrics do you think are useful and which are less useful in measuring success?
I think we can measure success by how happy and successful our students are when they're leaving. We don't want them leaving their schools saying, I didn't learn this, I wish I had that, oh, that wasn't fun, this wasn't good, right? Our students are gonna be the ones to let us know if they're successful, and we'll see after they get out into the real world how successful they are. We could have the highest school ranking in the world, and it doesn't mean that our students are happy and necessarily well prepared. I mean, I know that not everyone even realizes what goes into the school rankings, and upon looking, we may realize, well, that's not really an important metric to measure how prepared our children are going to be for the real world. So let's look around. Let's look at each other. Let's look at all of our students. And let's see, were you guys prepared? How do you think we did? If you were to come back and live in Rockville Center, as many generations usually do, you could ask them, what would you want changed for your children? We have to hear it out of their mouths. They're the ones living it. They're the ones experiencing it on a day-to-day basis. They're the ones that are going to be able to tell us if we are successful or not.
Thank you. So, Ms. Downing, what does it mean for a school district to be successful? What metrics do you think are useful and which ones less useful in measuring success?
I think there's a few different ways to think about how we measure success, and we need to always be data-driven. The board's charge is to be an accountability measure. Do the programs we have in place serve our students well? Do they result in strong student achievement? Are they delivering what we expect, which is the best quality education? So there's quantitative data and there's qualitative data, right? Quantitative, school rankings, graduation rates. We graduate 99% of our students. 90% of them get Regents diplomas with advanced designation, which is twice as many as most other districts. Qualitative data. What do the students tell us? What do our recent alumni tell us? Were they prepared when they moved on from our district? Are students getting what they need? And if not, how do we build the programs and fund the programs that drive student achievement, that result in success and feeling prepared for whatever comes next in their lives?
Thank you. Ms. Downing, how can we add more non-competitive sports activities for after school?
This is a topic that has come up in so many conversations recently as I've been talking to parents and hearing their concerns. Clubs and non-competitive offerings for students are such an important part of the childhood school education experience. I think elementary schools, I would love to have more clubs for our elementary school students. They really need to start feeling that their interests are reflected outside of the classroom. We hear in the climate survey that we administer from the district every year, students want relevant learning. They want to connect what they're hearing in the classroom with their lives after school. Students need to be engaged. They have passions, and the school is a great place to mentor and show leadership opportunities for students. At every level, especially middle and high school, if a student has a great idea for a club, there is an application process. We can work and find them an advisor. They can grow that interest and become leaders in that field. I'm all for more clubs. I would love to support these opportunities for students to continue to learn outside of the classroom.
Thank you. Mr. Putterman, how can we add more non-competitive sports activities for after school?
So the question is how? Well, like almost all things, it usually comes down to money. And if the money is not there to fund it, we need to be creative. We need to talk to other school districts and other boards and say, these are the types of programs that we're trying to implement. How have you done it? And then we start to get ideas from all of the different places. We start to learn ourselves, and then we can figure out collectively, right, the board and the superintendent, creative solutions in which way to bring it. But if we don't have the money to pay the teachers for the extra time to get the materials, we can't bring them.
Thank you. Mr. Putterman, how would you make sure our curriculum is up to date and appropriate for our children?
I think the first thing is going to be asking the children what they want, and they're not shy about saying what they want. Right? I know we got a fashion marketing and sports marketing classes. These were at the behest of the students. So the students are the ones that need to tell us what they want. I also will be looking through all of the curriculum, especially high school, because elementary school, pretty basic, the things that they're learning. There's always good creative things we could throw in there. But at the high school level, I want to look at the curriculum and say, is this going to help our people when they go into the real world? I live in the real world. I'm in the business world. I follow technology and AI and everything in that realm very closely. So I understand what all the professionals are doing. I understand what's out there. So I want to look at the curriculum myself and say, are our students going to be prepared to do all of this, work with it, learn it? Are we preparing their brains the right way to think about things differently? Because it's a very, very, very rapidly changing world that we're living in, especially with technology. So that's something that I am personally going to be looking at. And so like I said, I have a vested interest because my children are young. They're going to be in the school for another decade. I want to make sure they're set up for success. And they're in school longer than they're at home. So I got to make sure all that time here is time well spent, and they're learning what they need to.
Thank you. Ms. Downing, how would you make sure our curriculum is up to date and appropriate for our children?
So since I was elected, we have instituted a new curriculum review cycle. Every year, one of our major subjects goes under a spotlight. Started with English, went through math, we're working through all of our major subjects. This is a collaborative effort. We've got students, parents, teachers, administrators working together through these curriculum committees to examine the entire experience for students from kindergarten through all of the years that they're with us. This is a collaborative effort, but it is one that is taken with care and expertise. We've got New York State learning standards. We've got our own unique population here. We've got students who bring us great ideas, and we've been able to deliver on that. Books come on to certain curricular syllabi, and then they roll off. Students are part of these conversations. The elementary schools, I think we really need to focus, and this will be a priority in my second term. The measure of success of a school district is often the high school, but it starts at elementary school. These units of study, we need to really dig in and make sure our students are strong in their reading skills, are strong in their critical thinking skills from the very earliest ages. We can take an individualized approach, and we can start this earlier.
Thank you. This will be the last question before we go to closing statements. Ms. Downing, enrollment in Rockville Center schools is falling, particularly at the high school level, and enrollment in private and religious schools is increasing. What do you think is the cause?
Okay, so I will actually correct the framing of the question. This is something that I have looked into, and when I joined the board about 3 years ago, the number of students who were leaving the middle school after 8th grade and starting at a private high school was around 60. Within about a year or so, about 12 of those students returned to the public school system. The year after that, the number was 40. Currently, we're at about 30. So not only are we not losing students in increasing numbers, quite the opposite is happening. Students are staying in our district. They're seeing the value of this high school. Certainly parents, families, students pick private high schools for a variety of reasons. They have wonderful choices. I really want to be careful about spreading misinformation, and so let's be clear that our schools are strong. Students and parents are selecting them. If we hear things about declining enrollment, that may mean that there are fewer people on the planet. If there are fewer numbers of people, look, I'm one of 7 kids, my husband's one of 6, we have 4 children, but families aren't that big anymore. So declining enrollment means there may be fewer bodies, but our schools proportionately are not losing students in droves.
Mr. Putterman, do you want to weigh in on that one? The claim that the enrollment in the schools is falling, particularly the high school, whereas this questioner's perception is that enrollment in private and religious schools is increasing.
Yeah, I mean, we have to look at it based on the percentage of, graduates we have in 8th grade, and then, what's the percentage that then end up at the high school. I actually was under the impression that a lot more people are not actually, a lot of our 8th graders aren't matriculating to the high school. And when I sat down with Mr. Gavin, he gave me the numbers, and I was actually pleasantly surprised to see that they were actually improving. I think that has a lot to do with him coming here, because for a number of years, we had a very unstable situation because we did not have a leader. He came. He's been here for 3 years. You see all the change that he has brought with the board. I think in order to find out why they're leaving, you kind of have to ask, right? We all have friends that are in 8th grade and have kids in 8th grade. Why aren't you going to the high school? And some might have been, you know what, I was never planning on going to the high school because my family has always gone to this school. Or I'm getting athletic money going to another school. So why are they not? I don't know. We'd have to ask them to find out. But it is very, very good to hear that, the question that was asked, wherever, it came, and even my preconceptions actually weren't correct. So we're definitely moving in the right direction, and I think having a leader is a huge reason for it.
Thank you. I think it's appropriate to go to closing statements now. So, Mr. Putterman, please take your 2 minutes.
We're going to go. We're switching the order for the closing and the openings. So that.
Oh.
Yeah. So I didn't.
He's right. I'm supposed to not do the bounce back you just
sorry.
answered, now you answer.
Yeah.
So Ms. Downing gets to be first to present her 2-minute talk.
With only 90 seconds to answer a lot of these questions, I want to reassure voters that if your question wasn't answered, I would love to have a conversation with you about your concerns. I'll be continuing to post material on my website and on my social media about questions that I hear. Bathrooms, the cell phone policy, transparency, the role of the board. I've got a whole lot more to say, and I would love to have continuing conversations about this. I have brought positive change. I've outlined some of these in my answers tonight, but where do we go from here? I want every student to receive the education that's right for them and that sparks their curiosity. As a parent, I want to know that my child's teacher knows my child, sees their strengths, encourages their interests, and lights a fire under them to love learning and to achieve. I want our teachers to know they're valued, and I want them to have more opportunities to share their proven strategies about how different students learn best. Education has been my life's work. I have taught at the college level for 10 years, and I have volunteered in our schools for 20 years. This job is a call to serve, to volunteer in our community. Working with our superintendent, the board is continuing to develop a strategic plan that maps out the next 3 to 5 years. We have tremendous potential to make this excellent school district even better. I hear your concerns. In my second term, I will be able to hit the ground running and keep the positive change going. Thank you.
Mr. Putterman, take it away.
When you elect me to the board, we have this forum and all of my content on the socials to serve as a checklist of everything that I said I will do. We will track them publicly together for the next 3 years. Ultimate accountability. The top goal, the first thing I'm going to tackle, is lowering the cost of our benefits insurance, which is 1/4 of the entire budget. That's the first domino in a lot of other ones of all the things we need to do. The only reason that I'm here tonight and out spending my time and my energy campaigning is because I genuinely believe that I can make a positive impact in our entire community. For all the taxpayers without kids currently in our schools, and of course, all of those with them. Otherwise, why would I be here wasting everyone's time? Please make sure to vote. I can't do all of these things if I don't have the most votes. At the high school on May 20th, it's a Tuesday, 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. Put it in your calendar, bring your friends. In case there's anything that I didn't cover tonight, that you'd like to know or just like to see more of me, which probably not. I'm on a lot of people's lawns around town. I'm sure you're seeing enough of me. Reach out to me on the socials, Putterman, RVC, BOE. There's dots, there's underscores, just search, you'll find me. We really need a fiscally responsible, forward-thinking, future-looking member to diversify the skills and the expertise on the entire school board. I promise that we will do amazing things together. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes our forum. I applaud all of you. You're a very genteel crowd and focused, and I'm sure that that support was felt by these candidates as they sought to bring to you their points of view. So thank you very much, and have a good night.